So Andrew Devonport is a senior architect with the Office of Public Works. Andrew graduated from the Mackintosh School of Architecture in Glasgow and has worked as an architect for 25 years in both the private and public sector. He's worked on approximately 34 projects with a capital value in excess of 800 million euro. Most recently, he is leading the delivery of the Ukraine National Emergency Accommodation Programme. So, Andrew, over to you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. As mentioned there, Andrew Devonport, like a senior architect, definitely OPW, and I'm essentially the project manager for this program, which is a kind of national program delivering kind of I guess 700 residential units. So we'll just go through the slides there. Okay, the project milestone, it started off with ourselves in terms of the government issued a memo to the OPW in terms of to I guess that kind of like a proof of a concept to deliver 500 units. That was in June of 22. From there, we procured a contractor. With the contractor had to have a scale and a national kind of a presence, which we ended up with like a CISCs. That was in July 22. The following steps were to procure manufacturers to the main contractor and subcontractors of the units from an early kind of a concept and the program. Again, we knew that the approach needed to be kind of a dual kind of approach, which essentially meant factory building of the accommodation units, whilst the site works was being brought forward. The commencement of off-site factory production was the 7th of November. There was risk at this point because we didn't have all our sites. We were literally going through the list of kind of sites what we had received from the Department of Housing, which weren't social housing sites. That was clear to us that this program couldn't kind of borrow or take any sites from the social housing program, which is obviously being kind of managed by the local authorities nationally. In December 22, the program was extended to a further 200 units. So that gave us 700 units in terms of the program. The first kind of programs units rather were installed in January kind of 26 23. So you see there from November of a start of production to January the following year, we had units installed on site. The first site, which is Mahon in Cork, was finished in May of that year. That was 64 units. So you can see from the short space of time in terms of the rapid kind of their delivery of the units. And then June was the finish of the first phase kind of a site. So sorry, May was the completion of the first one. That was 5 sites kind of nationally kind of located. Later slides will kind of identify where these are. And then June was the phased handover of the sites in terms of occupation, because once we hand over, an approved housing body takes kind of ownership of the site and they manage and occupy from the date of handover. August, the phase 2 sites kind of, I suppose, they're completed. That did run on a little bit into November, which at the moment we have, I suppose, like 310 homes on site over 7 sites. So to date we have like 430 units on kind of a site. So you can just think about the program in terms of the rapid rollout, and then from onwards we need to finish our program and achieve the 700 units. So just going into a little kind of detail in terms of the governance, the OPW kind of I contracted to the Department of Children. They're our clients, so they would be regarded as the proven authority ourselves, the OPW, would be the sponsoring authority and the contracting authority. I suppose, interestingly, the contract which we used, the NEC contract, it wasn't a government kind of like you get their contract which would normally be associated there. So we did get a dispensation to go away from the normal kind of, I guess, suite of government air contracts and utilize the NEC contract, just in terms of they're just considered more kind of, I guess, flexible in terms of what we had to do, having not have kind of a clear sight of the sites, which is against the government kind of their contract in terms of the ethos would be to have everything kind of worked out, drawn, detailed before you tender. We were tendering without our sites. So just going into the unit there, the typical unit in terms of the air delivery of this, the limitation was basically the size of a unit you could get on the back of a truck and down the road without a guard or escort. So that kind of took us into approximately 13 meters by 4. Their target there was 45 square meters internally, which is a social housing guideline for 1 bed, 2 person. In this instance, so we're getting kind of more value. That unit is a 2 bed, 4 person, and as you see there, it's kind of owned or access, shared living and dining, shower room in the middle, a bunk bedroom in terms of just along the hall there, and then at the end, kind of like a twin or a double bedroom. This can have a facility in terms of sofa beds in terms of a 6 person, but it has been limited to 4 persons. The idea of this was plug and play kind of a situation where all the service points are just into the centralized of the plan. So this is where all the drainage kind of out and the water in, electricity in, all comes into this point. So it's literally dropped off a truck onto its footings and plugged in. So these are just kind of early imageries which we used to sell their concept. So just a model there on the right, kind of showing how these units they're configured on a site. These are configured in semi-D situation. So half of that unit is just what I was referring to on the last slide, which is the 45 square meter unit. This allows own door access, own metering, water supply, front curtilage, and then rear private open space. A target, what we're looking for is to achieve and to adhere to normal social housing guidelines, which in terms of the garden spaces, they all apply in terms of the car spaces, verge, disabled space and visitor space, and it does comply with the local kind of local authority of the area, kind of their development plan. And then just the imageries, what we just kind of developed, and later on you'll see the kind of reality of those, and they do look kind of almost identical. Just popping down then. So this is just the standard. This was just on the right there was just a kind of development kind of a section in terms of the buildability of these. The standard is a 60-year structural lifespan. The standards are sort of fully compliant with national kind of standards in terms of their technical guidance, kind of documents, building regulations. They're insulated up to an A2 standard, fully recce, certified, plumbed electricity. Everything is up to standard as you would get from any other home. So these are just the standards and kind of standard of the detailing. And I suppose they're hard to see, but in terms of the detail went to in terms of the fire stopping between the units, the ventilation, the drainage. As I say, it was all what is kind of ran kind of nationally is their building, their control, otherwise known as BCAR. These are all kind of fully certified up to BCAS standards. Okay, so this is just an example in terms of the type of build what's out there. The 2D like panelized, which on the left there is kind of a traditional method at the moment in terms of they're timber framed, but this version is like they're the 3D like volumetric, so it's actually it's like a fully built and kind of like and they're finished in a factory environment. So that allows for speed of their delivery, greater program, their certainty, the completion in the factory environment, and reduce their site works, while the site is being enabled in terms of the public realm. These units are being built in a factory environment. The improved health and safety, the quality air control is a higher standard because you are in a factory environment. You're not kind of exposed in the weather, and there's obviously good supervision in those environments. It's a fully portable home and reduced wastage. Those are the advantage of the 3D like volumetric approach. So the site development at the start, I mentioned that we didn't have our sites. So the way we had to tend to something was an imaginary 1 hectare site with the units as shown, and in that all the ingredients were kind of they're called up in terms of the public open space, rear curtilage, like kind of a front curtilage at the standards of the paving, parking spaces, the SUDs, the surface water drainage. All that was in that in terms of a tender package. So in terms of our own kind of their sustainability, we always kind of try to use the spoil on site, the topsoil where we can, and retain on site. This is an example of the forensic science kind of their laboratory, which we just kind of built recently, which is in their back western. Now we aren't doing this on this scale on these environments, but it just shows an example in terms of planted areas, buffer kind of a planting, kind of high concentration of landscaping to allow these kind of schemes there to bed in. And then the national kind of a spread there. You just see that the sites there between Dawley Park, which is local to where we are now, which is a 22 units, down to Charleville, kind of a 68 units, like kind of Rathdowny. So you can see the spread and the units called up, and that's just a kind of a tracking of the stage of the site in terms of what is instructed and what isn't instructed at this point in time. And in terms of the sites themselves, so this is Mahon, kind of a site. You see the layout. The layout was kind of generated, one, by the shape of the site, but also of the abnormal on the site, which was knotweed. The site had a high degree of knotweed, and the most cost-effective rather way to deal with that is better bury it. So those brown areas, which are landscape now, that's where all the burial cells are for the knotweed. So that kind of influenced the design, if you like. Just going forward, and just the images at kind of at the bottom there, you might recall they're the CGIs from the model, so you can see they are very similar. And this is just the image of the street. These units are only a single-story unit, so they don't hold a street. So what was like a key to all the designs is the verge. So in time, those trees will grow and kind of develop and give you that kind of a tree-lined avenue. And then just in terms of all schemes, where possible, have open space in terms of kind of a public open space. So that's just the green, and then just the entrance, like kind of concentrating on the entrance, just relatively kind of cost-effective measures, just to make it more of a home there, with the canopy, the glass kind of rain screen over the door, the letterbox and the numbering, just to kind of personalize it a little bit. And again, the internal views of what they all look like. So all these units are all identical in inside. Obviously, the order in terms of the consistency was essential there to keep the costs down and to keep the process kind of manufacturing a kind of a fast process. And just some evening kind of shots, just kind of showing the public realm. And this is Dorley Park again yourself, just an aerial kind of like a shot there where I think it shows it kind of nestling into the environment. Dorley Park was a tight site. There's a kind of a 22 homes on there. To maximize the open space, it was designed as a single kind of road carriageway in, and a kind of a separate exit point, just so it wasn't kind of all hard kind of a standing, to maximize the green area. And just some further images of Dorley Park. And again, Dorley Park in terms of the bed planting, the concentrate on bed planting. And as I mentioned, the approved housing body will be managing this. This won't be managed by the local authority. And then the Clare Morris site, Mayo, there are 28 units there. Thurles, there are 62. Whilst the design kind of changes, the actual the palette of their materials is their constant. Again, that just kind of adds value. This is the Cavan Farnham Road, Cavan. The layout of that was really kind of they're dictated by its inner. Well, it's just outside of the floodplain, so that's why that kind of shape of the site is like that, because obviously we couldn't build in the floodplain. This is Rathdowney. So this will be due to handover in the morning. We do have a bit of an issue in terms of the wet weather we're having at the moment. So the landscaping hasn't kind of matured. The grass hasn't kind of seeded. So that will be a kind of ongoing process, maybe into spring. But the units will be occupied, and the open space will just be kind of temporarily railed off until the landscaping has a chance to kind of establish itself. This is the Clonminch place there, Tullamore. Again, an interesting kind of a site. Tullamore, Tullamore Dew is just behind the site in terms of the distillery. Back Western, Lucan. So that's 132 units on there. What was interesting on this site, we have been approved to bring forward their 2-story units. So on this site, we are bringing forward as a proof of a concept again, to bring kind of a 12 units, which is the dark blue, as you see there, just opposite the other side entrance. So these would be kind of more traditional, kind of like a 3-bed kind of family units. And this is maybe a kind of like a proof of concept, which would be a bonus nationally rather, for our own kind of issues with kind of our social housing and kind of housing generally. So just in terms of the factory output, the acceptance and monitoring, this is how we kind of like track kind of the outputs there from each of the factories, and then the actual kind of the input from the factory onto the site, and the coordination and the tracking of the units from the suppliers. There was 5 factories kind of attended. 5 was picked to de-risk the process, because just in case 1 or 2 of the factories underperformed. Some of the factories here started life kind of building kind of bathroom pods. That was their kind of their day business, and they have kind of invested and upskilled into this process. So there's a lot of kind of promises early on. So that's why I went with the 5, because those promises kind of may not have been realized, but as it happened, everyone has kind of stepped up. So in terms of the quality insurance, obviously that's like a key in terms of our process. So there's a lot of oversight in the factory quality checking, like kind of a staged kind of a processes between each of the elements, so that the factory has its own quality team, they're the contractor. I guess CISCs has its own managers, like kind of assist have its own kind of their consultant team. They're the BCAR inspections, and then our own inspections. So there's a kind of a layering process of visits, kind of there within the factory where the quality is checked. Each element is signed off by an individual in the factory, so it's all traceable back to that individual. If a fault were to arise, then we're able to track back and kind of like see who worked on it, who installed that piece of insulation or roofing membrane, and kind of and go back to that kind of individual, and if necessary, kind of retrain that person. Again, just kind of these examples, the consultants who came with the contract assist was their codies in terms of architectural, EDC, M&E. So they are kind of carrying out inspections across the 5 factories. And this is just an example of the monitoring of which unit goes where on a site. Between there's a Castle Modular there, and then there's MHI. So you can see the tracking process. Once it hits kind of site, you have a process of kind of a building in terms of the flashings, cappings, air tests, the acoustic tests, all that kind of necessary work to happen on each of the units there before it's completely signed off. And in terms of the multi-story unit, just as I referred to earlier, this is kind of what the factories are just kind of starting their production on. 2 of the factories are building those out. They're the 5 that would be the Castle Modular and again frame space. So these are 4 units, 4 modular volumetric units, which would give us 1 house. So instead of 1 unit, 1 modular unit, 1 home, these are 4, and obviously bolted there together on the site. And you can see the size of there. So this is fully complies with the social housing guidelines of the 98 square meters for a 3-bed kind of a 5-person unit over 2 stories. Just on the section there, you can see the limitation. The mono pitch has been chosen because to keep the modulars down. If we were to put a more traditional pitch roof, that would get us into 6 modulars, which is up the cost of the unit, because all of a sudden you're delivering 6 modulars there per house as opposed to 4, and you can see the height restriction in terms of the factory, and then getting that on a truck. And but we have achieved the higher floor to ceiling of 2.5 meters on the ground floor, just to give that kind of the greater sense of space within the home. And this is just the visual of what that looked like. Kind of intentionally, we've gone for the traditional materials in terms of their brick slips render, just to make that kind of, well, for the public to warm to this as a concept, that these their 3D volumetric houses will actually work there for them kind of as a home if it were to be rolled out as another national kind of their program there. And this is, sorry, just popped on. And in terms of the A2, kind of the 2-story rather, they're renewables. Again, it's A2, kind of the BER, so you can see the metrics in terms of the U values and where that is. So they are being fully worked out. And then just in terms of the mock-ups, again, learning within the factories, kind of bringing the factory with us on a kind of their collaborative kind of a process. We ask them to mock up some kind of a prototypes, just so we can actually see the detailing, see how the unit's going to be junked, kind of they're connected rather, and the junctions between the 4 modulars as they are stacked and put together. So this is just the process there for frame space, just on the left there, and then their castle on the right there. That just allows us there to get in kind of close and to see the layering process of each of the building elements. And then these were the 5 their factories there we worked with their sisters I mentioned. So there's their Castle Group, LNC, their Vision Built, their Frame Space, MHI. And I suppose the one thing there that these are all Irish companies, and that was like kind of seen as a benefit, because these are all obviously Irish companies, kind of like get jobs there for the area. So that investment has kind of stayed in this country, rather than maybe kind of buying in these modular units from overseas. Okay, so the benefits. They reduced their time on site, kind of I guess 7 months to deliver their 64 units, and that's with the site with abnormals. All these sites have issues, from archaeology to kind of needing to bed underground kind of ASB cables or knotweed, as kind of the case of Cork. So the designer solution used here was light gauge steel, but it could easily be kind of a timber frame, kind of like mass timber or any other kind of method. But I suppose that we went that way because there was a gap in the market. The timber frame kind of were busy doing kind of a 2D volumetric. So the light gauge was, because it is the route we had to follow. But as I say, it could be either or. So we kind of feel that we've activated the additional kind of their capacity within the construction industry in terms of the factory environment, like kind of the semi-skilled workers in those environments, rather than what is kind of out there, a kind of a shortage of kind of their tradespeople on the sites. So I think in case of these 5, we've taken that kind of industry in terms of the embryonic nature and kind of turned it into a full kind of their production industry. The high quality air construction, their consistency of approach between all the units. So we're working with 5 air factories, but they're all producing exactly the same unit to the same standard. The reduced waste, obviously, water, energy, the activate less skilled kind of labour market, the improved health and safety, the increased air sustainability. I suppose our next steps is to review our work to date, to take a peer review, if you like, and stand back and see what we've done and see if we can improve again. One of that would be the embodied carbon review in terms of light gauge steel. How can we improve that? I suppose the task for ourselves is to share this learning in terms of kind of to the wider industry. It's kind of seen for the good of the country. So we're happy to give these kind of talks and to share the learning. And I suppose they're the key partners in this, which have to be mentioned, is their utility providers, kind of Irish Water and ESB worked with us. We approached them, kind of asked them if they would kind of work with us kind of closely, because better to deliver the program at the speed we have done, we would need Irish Water and ESB with us. And I have to say, they have worked with us, and they have kind of unlocked kind of like certain blockages to allow these units to be built between the various sites, which as I said, all have their own issues. So I think that's probably the end of the presentation. So there's a lot in that. So, but obviously happy to take kind of their questions.